I'm Steffani Scheurich. I have had a 23-year career with major companies, four large ones: Nestle, Brown-Forman, which is Jack Daniel's, Southern Comfort, Finlandia Vodka. Then I was with Sara Lee, and finally I was with Pernod Ricard, which is Absolut, Malibu, Kahlua, Jameson, and a slew of great global spirits brands. About 7 years ago, I started my own company called High Spirits Marketing, and I focused it for sales, marketing, and business strategy purposes, and mainly in the craft spirits space. It has grown to larger clients in the last 7 years, and my portfolio's grown tremendously for sourcing whiskey, for blending it, for nosing for errors. And I'm proud to say that I am the master blender for Lythgoe Bourbon, and I'm excited to bring that product to market in the next few years. So Dina, the mash bill that we've selected for our Lythgoe Bourbon, one of our first releases that we'll be coming out with, is a 70-21-9 mash bill. It's 70% corn, 21% rye, and 9% malted barley. It's a very standard mash bill throughout the industry, which is a very good thing for us because it allows us some consistency. It also allows us maybe down the road to be able to change our distillery provider if we need to, and still have consistency in our brand. The mash bill, what's nice about it is it has a rye content, which allows a little bit of the spice character that you would get out of a bourbon, and it's got a nice a higher content of malted barley with the 9%, which kind of gives it some of the grainy characters and some of the vanilla characters when the product is at age and maturity. So I'll just recap. In the spring, we did an initial recap of our brand. We've pulled probably about 15 different samples to 30 samples. It was probably 30 of the 70-21-9 mash bill, so that I could get a good handle on how the product was aging from different barrels, to make sure that we were getting consistent product as it was aging. What I did notice is there were not any errors in any of the samples, which is excellent news. We didn't come up with any fermentation errors. I didn't see any grain or mold errors show up in the distillate. So it seemed very consistent. It was clean. It was developing well. There's some nice caramel notes developing in the fall sample, which I reviewed in the last few weeks. So there's been a huge change. I've noticed the color from the spring into the fall is slightly darker. It's picking up some more red notes, which we want in our products, so that it's nice and rich, and it has a real deep, we want a real nice deep amber color when we get to our 5 and 6 year mark, and it's starting to develop nicely. And it's very clean, and I'm really happy with where it is at the moment. Do I think we have some room to improve? Yes, because I feel like based on a product at a 6 year mark, we have some products at 5 years, and I think there's room to improve. So I'll give you an example. What we're talking about and why. So there's some things I think I'd like to do with our product. When I evaluated the spring sample and then I evaluated the fall sample, we are improving. So we've had a summer where we've had the whiskey going in and out of the wood and interacting at the higher temperatures, which is what we want. Our barrels are in several different locations at the Green River Distillery. It's in several different warehouses. Some of our barrels are stored in ricks on their sides. Some of our barrels are stored upright in palletized warehouses. There's a big difference in the development of the whiskey when it's in a palletized condition versus when it's in a ricked condition. And I was going to show you and highlight this. So we'll assume this is a barrel. And if it's stored upright, this barrel has only this much surface area and this much ability to interact with oxygen to age and to pick up wood, all the wood notes that it needs. Now, when you store it on its side in a ricked warehouse, now we have all of this surface area and all of that oxygen meeting the whiskey to allow it to age. And when it's going in and out of the wood, it has a lot more room to breathe. And based on our whiskeys, we have some that are in rick houses and we have some that are palletized. So I don't feel like that would give us some consistency that we need if we want to be a really great brand and consistent over years and years. So I was recommending that maybe we would consider switching to ricked warehouses, and we'd ask for locations in the upper rungs of the warehouses. And the reason for the upper rungs is because in the summer the heat rises and you get a lot more interaction with the wood up in the top rungs, and we'll have a more consistent brand in the long term. Does it have to be the very top, like the very top? It doesn't, but if we're in the top 2 to 3 ricks, that means, 1, 2, 3, we're still going to get some heat, and I think that would make for a really great caramel note. And we want the bonfire toffee, the warm characteristics that you get from a whiskey that makes you want to sip on it longer and enjoy it. So that's what we're going to be after, because we want to launch, and when we want to launch, we want to launch with a superior product that people want to come back for. I wanted to do is show you, this is our 5-year-old. It's at 115 to 125 proof straight out of the barrel. This is our 5-year-old when I've proofed it down to make it close to a 90 proof so that I can get a consistent idea of what I think the product will taste like. So you can see it's developing nicely. Like I said, it's got the amber colors we're looking for. But this is what a whiskey that's 6-year-old in an upper rung of a warehouse on its side looks like. And you can see that there's kind of a darker note to it. And if I hold it up to the other sample again, it's kind of consistently darker. So that's what I, want us to be when we grow up, is to be a deeper, darker color. But again, when I nose it, there aren't any errors. We are getting some sweet notes. We're getting the vanillas and caramels that we're hoping for. They are coming, but I think it's going to take longer for us to get there if we're not in top rungs of a warehouse, and if we're blending with other whiskeys that aren't at the top of a warehouse or that are palletized. So it could set us back and take us a little longer, but eventually we'll get there. But we don't have any errors going on in any of our samples, and there's some nice rye notes we would get off of a 21% rye, and you can really, I like the rye notes, and they're kind of a warm, I don't know how the fresh cut grass, but a warm, sweet, fresh cut grass. You get some hay notes, you get the rye spice notes. And again, the vanillas and caramels are coming. They're just going to take a little longer to get to the vanillas and caramels that you would get in a 6-year-old. So, but I'm real happy with where it's going. And then when I taste it, I do get the vanilla notes to it, and the finish is clean. It's great. It's smooth. I didn't detect anything off or off-putting, which is what we want as well. So I'm really happy. I am happy with our distillate. I feel like it's consistent. Green River is a consistent distillery. They've been around a long time. They're one of the larger producers in the state of Kentucky. They're owned by Bardstown Bourbon Company, and those two companies together make them probably the largest producer in the state. So I feel like if we're going to build a brand, to build it with those companies, we're in a good position to be consistent, which is what you want.